Hey, sorry, that's a great start. No, welcome everybody to another episode of Pardon the Smash. Thanks for joining us today. We've got some great topics for you guys and got some good guests for you. So let's go ahead and just introduce our guests. If Cam 2, he's been having some technical difficulties, but hopefully he's here with us. Cam 2 from Skylar, pretty popular PM player in the Nebraska scene, famous for his Squirtle. We got Cody Skilliger, I'm pretty sure is what he's playing with now. I guess it's safe to say best Smash 4 player in the state, right? I don't know if anyone's going to dispute that.
I like to increase my ego as much as possible.
The Rob of Smash 4, let's just say that. No, I'm just kidding. We got Tony Magic. He was here with us last week. Tony, known for his melee knowledge. And Blank from Des Moines. What's up, Blank? You're pretty new. Well, not new, but I want to say this is your first time on PTS, is what I want to say.
Yeah.
But you've been around for a long time player. PM is your specialty, right?
Right.
So we've got a good mix here. I still haven't heard anything from Cam 2, so I'm kind of worried if he's not.
Hello, I'm sorry, I'm here.
All right. Yeah,
sweet.
Right?
Okay, good. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and roll into our first topic, which is a Roll Tier 5 clarification topic. We got some feedback from last week's episode. Unfortunately, it sounded like some of the information that we were working off was actually not correct. So we want to clear up some of the stuff that was said last week because obviously if what we were working on wasn't correct, we want to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this at Tony. I think he's got a little collection there of what he wants to say. So take it off, Tony.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we kind of talked about last time, Dark Rain not pre-registering, that was a lie, or that was false information. Dark Rain did pre-register the night before. JBM pre-registered for him. However, another thing we want to do is some shout-outs to the actual TOs that were working their butts off to get everything running as smoothly as it did and getting that money back up. Steph, for one. Alec, for another. Blank was working his tailbone off. I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me. Should have gotten a list prepared. I apologize to anyone not mentioned who was doing their best on that. But yeah, just wanted to clear up just a couple things that we didn't get a chance to touch on last time.
Yeah, and I want to throw something in there too and just say that, I do dog on 70M a little bit because of the bathroom thing, and most of the time it's because we're joking around about it a lot, but I do think the bathroom should be fixed. But aside from that, the rest of the venue was actually really, really good for the tournament. And there's a lot of space. We didn't have any power outages or anything like crazy like that, so it was good. Go ahead, Blink.
I mean, I'm a little biased with, I love what you guys are doing with 70M game, but my first event experience there was a sleepover, and during that sleepover, the bathrooms flooded. So we were told we could stay the night, and then at 1 in the morning, we had to get kicked out, and that just did not make for a good experience, I gotta say. But I mean, overall, you guys have been doing work with that place, and you've held some great events there. And I want to mention David and Steph too, because I stayed at their place before the tournament, and they worked into the wee hours of the morning organizing these pools on top of housing pretty much all the states. They're filing into the living room, into the basement. So major props to them for sure.
All right. And yeah, it's like Steph had said in a Facebook comment too, where she was saying that TOing kind of is like the I don't know how she worded it, but she essentially said the job that doesn't really get noticed or no respect, because that is kind of true. I mean, a lot of people just think that it's something that somebody's doing, just get it taken care of. It's something super easy, but there is a lot of work that goes into it. It's probably a lot more. If somebody hasn't TO'd before, it's a lot more than they think. I can at least say that much. Even if you're running a small tournament, there's a lot to it.
It's a lot like cleaning. It is. 'Cause, I mean, if you do it wrong, everybody notices. If you do it right, you don't get any recognition for it.
Right. Yeah, and definitely before we move to the next topic, I just want to say that, shout-outs to the Kansas City crew. If some of that information was wrong, which obviously sounds like some of it was, no hard feelings, right? I love those dudes, so I think they know that. But anyway, let's go ahead and move into the Smash 4 topic. This is supposed to be the saltiest topic of all, because anybody in the Nebraska Smash group right now has seen my post from like 2 hours ago, where, long story short, I essentially went on to Wii U today and tried Mewtwo, and I was like, I'm just going to beat up this computer real quick. Okay, he seems like Melee, but, it's Smash 4. So played some games online, just decided that this game is trash. It is the worst game I've ever played in my life, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to let Cody go ahead and take this. Cody, if you want to do just a quick introduction of yourself first, but then I expect you to defend your territory.
All right, fair enough. My name is Cody. I go by Soldier in the Smash community. Okay, I'll turn it off. Okay, is that better? Okay. I help run the Smash 4 Nebraska page. I try to represent Nebraska in regards to Smash 4. I've been heading to every Midwest event. It's been a ton of fun. Definitely doing everything in my power to help get Smash 4 off the ground and on its feet for Nebraska. And it's been an absolute blast. The game, for a lot of people and just the community in general, has been an absolutely fantastic experience. It started off really small, and it's quickly just escalated to where we had, I'd say, around 20 people from Nebraska going all the way out to Des Moines just to play Smash 4. Just a lot of people showing up. There's been weeklies forming over at the Lilat House, which is a place in Lincoln that's a new house venue, I believe, and it's been going absolutely great. And I understand that there are a lot of people who don't like Smash 4 due to the limited options in comparison to Melee or PM, thinking that it's too Brawl-esque. And honestly, in regard to Brawl, I would agree that it definitely plays more like that game versus Melee or PM. And something that Magic and I had been talking about earlier was that it shouldn't be compared between the two. The thing that they do share is a name, the general idea of knocking your opponent off the stage using percentiles, and characters. And so with that regard, I would say that if you don't compare it to Melee, it is an absolutely fantastic game, easy to get into, has a definite skill is required for it, with people improving, showing off new things all the time. The game's getting patched on the regular. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about characters being added into the game. I mean, we just got Mewtwo in a patch today, along with discussion and possible rumors of Ryu from Street Fighter ending up being DLC, and Boy from Fire Emblem might be back. So lots of fun things going on there, and a lot of new people are more drawn to Smash 4 because of the accessibility that it provides versus Melee, where before you can even start thinking about going to tournaments and actually competing, there's so much that you have to do prior, which does make it a very rewarding experience once you get to that point. But I definitely enjoy the feeling of progressing in Smash 4 as well. They're two different games. They should be treated as such.
Okay, so how about, let me just point out a couple of things that the first things that come to mind when I think about the game and what I don't like about the game. So if I'm not comparing it to Melee or anything, this is just thinking of Smash 4 as its own game, right? When I see these tournaments, what's the deal with how only Smashville gets played as the neutral stage? Every single time. Is there just a lack of competitive stages?
There's 3 neutrals. So
there's debate going on between 3 neutrals and 5. There's Lilac Cruise and Town and City on top of Smashville, Battlefield, and FD. And I honestly think it's just the general tendency to go to Smashville just from old Brawlheads, just agreeing and believing that that is the most neutral stage. So that's kind of the same idea that to unfamiliar eyes in regard to Melee, it's a lot like the Fox only, FD only type of ideology.
Yeah. How about accuracy? And what I mean by that is if you were to pull up the stat in the game that says how many moves you've hit out of all the moves you've thrown, I would bet anybody, even if you're Mewtwo King or whoever, man, 0, that you have a very low percent. Because every time I watch that game, people are just rolling around, dodging everything, and it seems like 9 out of 10 moves will miss. And then it's just that one move that hits. That's the one, you know, you get that extra damage or whatever. But what kind of game do you miss more moves than you hit?
You gotta realize that like there's a like because it's a newer game, there's like a very wide skill gap. The skill range is less pronounced than say Melee, where everyone's gotten so good, their spacing is so good, and they don't let people just roll for free, you know. And I mean, it's better obviously in Smash 4.
Right, but is it safe to say that
you do have to be watching the right matches, you know? You have to be watching the right matches. Is it
harder to punish moves, though? Like, rolling, yeah, you can say that you can punish a roll, but in a lot of situations, you can't punish a roll simply because of, like, say, how dash distances are so far and everything, that where, like, maybe you actually can't, or maybe the only punish is, like, a dash attack or something like that, you know? Because of the character movement being so limited. I mean, even if you read somebody, you might not necessarily be able to make the play because your movement is so limited.
I'd like to go on record real quick. As someone who plays a very limited movement character in Melee, my attack land percentage isn't always the greatest. And I think the reason why that is because I have to put at least some amount of fear with a move as opposed to actual movement. The only issue is you're getting every character has to play that way. Their neutral game is establishing a wall of pain without actually being able to move around a wall of pain.
Right. And no, I get that, and I agree with that, because if you watch me play Falcon even, there's a lot of times where I'll back air on a platform, then run off the platform with another back air, and even though I'm not hitting those moves, it puts it out there, so if somebody does come at you, you're going to hit them, right? So I totally get that. I guess to clarify what I mean is more like, there's a lot of times where I'm sitting there watching, like, someone rolls a dash attack, and then somebody tries to, like, punish, but then that person was able to roll, and then that person's shielding or dodging or whatever. And it's like, it just seems like it's such a defensive game that it's actually difficult to hit a move. And I just don't think that makes for a very good game. I mean, yeah, you definitely want to be able to avoid moves. Like, obviously, that's very good. But it's just the fact that it makes it so easy. Like, it's so hard to punish some moves. Or it's actually, I'll go on the record and say it's hard to punish almost all moves. But, I mean, like, for example, when I was playing earlier today, it almost seemed like if, I don't know, I can't think of a move right now. I guess, like, think about this. When DDD throws a Gordo, right, I could be Toon Link and I throw a Boomerang. Why does my Boomerang throw his Gordo back at him? Doesn't make any sense. Like that Gordo is not going to just be like, they should at least, like, meet in the middle somewhere. I mean, there's no way a Gordo's coming by and then a Boomerang's like, tink, and he's like, just flies off like 100 miles an hour. Like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't seem like all the physics are there. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, some of the
I kind of went on a little. I went on a different.
Yeah, it's kind of nitpicky there.
This is a topic that I think we can go just for hours.
Some things in physics and Melee don't make exact sense either, such as phantom lag. Well, is there still, like, an explanation to phantom lag? I mean, that's something that's going to, like, be encountered in all fighting games where there are just some things.
Why does Jigglypuff make you explode? Like,
yeah, like
why does that?
Come on, now you guys are taking it to.
No, I'm just kidding.
So I know I worded myself very poorly, but you guys are taking it to the extreme. How about this? Okay, well, if you're Samus, right, and you're on, like, one side of FD and you shoot a missile, somebody can just jump over that missile, slowly, like, walk all the way over to you, charge a forward smash, and then, like, let loose on you. And you can't do anything, man. Okay, that might be exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, some of the moves have so much lag. Like, the missile with Samus has such little reward in Smash 4. You're not going to kill anyone with it. It's probably, what, 10%? So why is there so much lag on it? Why is it so easy to punish when the reward for using the move is so low? It just seems like Smash 4 is saying there's high risk, low reward.
I mean, I think this is kind of a double standard, though.
That specific move actually just got buffed to increase damage and less end lag. And that's something that's really cool about Smash 4, as the meta does develop and we notice that some moves have flaws, there is a possibility to it getting buffed or nerfed, as evident with Diddy Kong's Bear, which has been nerfed hardcore now. It doesn't kill nearly as early percent. It doesn't seem like it's as good of an approach option off the ground. And that's something that can't always change, and that's something that has to be looked at, because any time that any of these new possible DLC characters are going to be added in, which is at least Lucas, and potentially Roy Ryu, along with another character from the Smash ballot, you're looking at another 4 balance patches that could make those types of changes to help the game be more rewarding in an offensive measure.
But I think the biggest question about this is, are they going to be introducing any mechanics? Because I know the DACAs got removed. If we find a mechanic in this game, are they just going to remove it as well, and they're just trying to balance it around just moves and no actual mechanics to the game?
Yeah, that is kind of scary how like a lot of advanced techniques they get found and then patched out, as they would say. And I just want to point out, like, I kind of think it's kind of like a double standard. Like, we're all expecting Smash 4 to be more balanced, even though we do know that Melee only has like around 5 to 10 viable characters, you know, and that's more than
Ganondorf.
That's more than enough for us because we've played Melee so long. But we go into Smash 4 and like we suddenly expect more, you know, like more balance because they have the ability to patch it. So we start to expect more balance, more risk-reward ratios being adjusted. You know, that kind of thing it's kind of a double standard in my opinion. So you can't really compare the two just because Smash 4 does have the ability to get patched. But that's just me.
Well, the thing about it is I like the ability to get patched. I love it. It makes a lot of sense. And they are doing a good job. I was looking just a very quick glance at patch notes. Looks like they're adjusting things that need to be adjusted. They're doing small movements to percentage, small things, taking away frame lags, things like that. I noticed they said they removed a lot of lag on Ganondorf aerials. But I mean, the thing is, if they're balancing the moves and removing the mechanics, is that really going to be a game that everyone wants to play 2-3 years down the road?
And that's incredibly subjective, really.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, and you don't even know what's going to be discovered next, you know. So.
Yeah.
But that's just my point. I mean, I'd love for it to get discovered as soon as possible, but if it's discovered and then taken away, I mean, there's not really a point of us looking for it, is there?
And I think even like people who play Smash 4 might want to admit that like Sakurai doesn't have probably the best in mind for a competitive environment, but
he definitely.
But I think like Smash in general is a game that's built by its players. And no matter how much you try to develop Smash, like the game comes to fruition by what the players build with it, you know? Like the game just gives you tools and the players go out and figure out all this crap, and they're the ones who make characters into what they are. Like you start to associate certain players with certain characters. Like that's how ingrained our mindset is with building upon the foundation of what they give us, you know, because what they give us is completely different from what we end up playing. Obviously, we take the game to another level. It's undisputable, you know. So
yeah, and unfortunately, with what was found in Melee, will never happen again because they know, like, you know, now wave dashing is out there, and so every new Smash they make, I mean, however many more they will make, they'll always have that in mind, and they don't want wave dashing to be a part of it. Whereas in Melee, there was the ability to have glitches in the game like that because they were unknown yet. Whereas now all the things that were found in Melee, they're known, and so they can specifically avoid that. But before we move on to the next one, I just want to see, I mean, if Cam2 is still here, do you have any thought at all on Smash 4? I don't think you really chimed in at all there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I have that much to add, or at least I haven't played the game that much, honestly. That's all I can really say. I don't have a valid opinion on it either way.
No, fair enough. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move to the next topic, which is PM history. I guess before I move into that, I just want to state, I don't know if Cody's having trouble disconnecting or staying connected rather, but even though we do have a lot of differences here on Smash 4, I do respect the hell out of Cody, and it's nothing personal with the guy. It's just difference in opinion for the game. So
yeah, I kind of want to add to that too. Sorry, I just want to add to that too.
Hey,
like,
go ahead.
You know, your opinion of a game, you can't let it like affect too much your opinion of the community, because if people are out there, you know, like having the time of their lives, you know, playing a game you don't like, well, you know, they're still like going out there enjoying themselves. They're living out their youth, you know, doing something that they wouldn't have done otherwise, connecting with other people through this game. I mean, you can't really bash on that. Even if you don't like the game, you can't really bash on that, you know?
Yep. In the end, it's whatever game makes you happy, man. If you enjoy it, that's what you get to play. So let's go and move PM history, which I want to start with Cam too, since we kind of left him out of the previous topic. Cam, if you just want to go ahead and give yourself a quick introduction, and then go ahead and just give your thoughts on the history of PM and kind of the current state too, because I know currently in 3.5 there was some changes to Squirtle, and I kind of want to get your opinion on what you thought about the previous patch to 3.5 too.
All right. Honestly, I got into PM back in December 2012, I want to say. At that time, 2.5 had just come out, and I got into it through like it was on the front page of Reddit or something, and that's how I got into the scene. And it's no secret, the game has changed a lot since then, and I think the greatest thing they've done so far, especially in 3.5, this relates to my character more than anything else. They really have toned down on the gimmicks. Like, matchup knowledge is always going to be one of the most important things in Smash 4, but it isn't like 3.0 where you're relying solely on your character's gimmicks and like a ridiculous recovery, or in Squirtle's case, side B that is pretty much your greatest option in every situation.
Yeah. What do you think about people that would say that Squirtle is mostly based on gimmicks, where a lot of people blame it on lack of knowledge matchup if they lose to a Squirtle?
To some extent, I don't think they're wrong, honestly. It's something that I've always been curious about, because while they have tried to tone down the gimmicks, especially from 3.0 to 3.5, and I know I've heard a lot that in 3.0 there are a lot of like gimmicky movement options and tons of burst movement, while Squirtle still does have all those things through his unique advanced tech, such as sling jumping and the obvious side B, that it is almost a defining factor in the matchup.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I wanted to add to yes, some people. I just wanted to add to what Cam2 was saying. Like, there was a Yoshi player that his name was Spirefan, and when I first played him, like all he did was like side B with Yoshi, and he was obviously a really good player. But when the game updated, he couldn't rely on that anymore, and like I felt like he really had to show his actual skill. And I think 3.5 has forced a lot of people to learn how to play the game, essentially. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that, but yeah. Anyways, on the history of Project M, I did used to work on the development team, because before Project M, there was Brawl Plus, and Brawl Plus came to be because Phantom Wings made like this super awesome wave dash and brawl code, right? And it just blew up from there. People started collaborating, and some of the earlier members that worked on Brawl Plus still work on Project M today, like Shanus, Shell, Jong, and like there were some others, Ryoko and the Cape, and they were all just working on Brawl Plus at the beginning, and it was a really like competitive breeding ground for ideas. It was totally different from the structure you have with Project M today, where like they're like kind of like an actual development team, like they have like their own kind of PR gimmick and secrecy, and whereas Brawl Plus was like super open. You would just like argue for days on Smash boards about changes, and they would probably make it in because it was so experimental and nobody knew where the game was going. Like at one point, Sonic's up smash, like in Brawl, it spiked, and we like made the hitbox bigger, and like Ivysaur, for example, like we made her down smash trip. So there was just like lots of fun stuff there. Sonic had like an invincible neutral there, and the way I got into the team was it was really hard to get noticed, because I live in the middle of nowhere. But basically, I argued a lot, and I just kind of got noticed through videos, and it was really hard to convince people like you know what you're talking about when you're just some guy in the middle of nowhere making videos of you bodying people that don't even play the game, right? But when I got into the back room, it was just so unorganized because it wasn't just Brawl Plus, right? You had Brawl Plus, you had Brawl Minus, and the back room was composed of pretty much every Brawl mod in existence. And so the way Project M like kind of formed was for a need for organization. Like we needed some kind of structure, we needed some kind of exclusiveness, you know. And so we were all just kind of hanging out on IRC, and Jiang, which is the lead animator of Project M now, and Shanus, who was basically the creator of Project M at the time, they had just come up with like this Falco file, and it was just like Melee Falco, like screw all this making a new game crap. Let's just make Melee Falco. It'd be so much fun to like play Melee Falco and Brawl again. And they did that, and basically that's where Project M started. Really, they started like calling people to help with Melee Falco, and you know, let's make Melee Fox next. Let's just make Melee again, you know. And obviously, the M in Project M stands for Melee, and you know that's the direction they took with the mod since. And I feel like Brawl Plus just all migrated over.
Did
And
they
so,
have any intent when, I don't mean to interrupt, but I was just wondering.
No, yeah,
if
go ahead.
When they were remaking Melee Falco or Melee Fox, even was the intent to make him just as broken as he is in Melee, or was it kind of like, well, let's remake it, let's kind of tweak it a little bit?
It was almost like he was more broken, to be honest. Like they had yet to resize. They had yet to resize the models at the time, so like shines were bigger, and wave dashes were a lot they were a lot more lenient and sloppy, and the game was just less refined overall. So that character, the whole point was just to like have fun with the project, you know, and it really didn't get refined for a very long time, you know. And like at that point, I was kind of focusing on like my own game development projects. I didn't really want to be a part of a mod anymore. And as soon as I saw this team forming, like around, I want to say like 2.5, 2.6, like I kind of thought like, you know, these guys know what they're doing. They really don't. I really don't need to be a part of here. So I kind of like dropped out of the back room so that I could work on my own game development projects. But like, yeah, and like, I forgot where I was going. I'm sorry.
Well, I think you guys have done a great job so far. I remember playing that thing back from when it first came out. In the very beginning, there were only like 8 characters set up, maybe less than that even. And yeah, the wave dashing seemed really broken. The lag on L canceling was just ridiculous. It was none. It was just like playing 64 again. You could actually 0 to death people with Falco when he first came over. It was ridiculous. And I mean, you guys have taken a great job in making it more and more and more Melee and more refined, respectable game. I really would like to see it get to the point where Nintendo just stops hating on it.
Right. And I think like PM definitely blew up at like 3.0 because people were just like, hey, this isn't a demo anymore. Like all the characters are in, we can like start practicing. But yeah,
that's how it was for me. I want to get Cody's opinion there because I think Cody, you were relatively new to it, right? Probably 3.0, somewhere around there.
That's the first started. Let me turn this back up. I think I first started around like 2.6, back before all the characters did. And this was back when I lived in a smaller town. It was just me playing, so I just practiced. But by the time I was finally able to get involved, yeah, it was during the 3.0 era. And that was actually the first Smash game that I started taking serious in a competitive manner. It was a great way to get into it. It had that accessibility that people needed in order to get involved versus how refined Melee was at the time. It was an easier version. And yeah, there were a lot of gimmicks, but it was an absolute blast, and I think the PM development team did an absolutely fantastic job with it.
And I think PM is a good bridge in that way. Like, it's just accessible enough that newer players can play it still. And you know, like a lot of it's not that Melee isn't accessible. I think Melee is perfectly accessible. It's just that there's not as much room for people to do something new. Like, a lot of what they're going to be doing is catching up on what people have already done. Whereas PM, you can go into it and you can aspire to do something new with the character that nobody has seen before, and I think that's really appealing to people.
I agree wholeheartedly, and on top of that, it's just the character variety. I think it helps a ton too. Mainly because in Melee, as we said before, there are like 8 viable characters, and from there it's just a huge drop off. But in PM, you can make just about everyone work, and you can really find somebody who caters to your playstyle and work around that.
And yeah, on the side, Magic was talking about the subject of like Nintendo like supporting Project M, and that's kind of actually been kind of like a hot topic lately. So I don't know if you guys keep up with it, but like the Big House, which is historically always supported Project M as the main game next to Melee, they've dropped it for Smash 4. And Tourney Locator, another huge stream in Texas that has always supported Project M, they're creating a new channel separate from the one that they currently got their sub button on, with Project M on it. Like, so they're relocating Project M to this new stream that doesn't have a sub button. So like people are like speculating that Twitch or Nintendo is like cracking down on Project M, making sure that, it's not monetizable, and possibly, hiding it from competitive like Smash in general, just like trying to keep it more grassroots.
They need to just go ahead and hire all you guys who made Project M just to make Smash 5 The Reckoning. And just get it over with. I mean, if you guys have made a game that's become so popular, I mean, it's just ridiculous that you guys have made a mod that has become a real game. It's like Dota and League. It's just, you need to make your own company and just make a game.
Yeah, and my final thought before we move to the next topic is exactly what you just said, Tony. I mean, think about Dota. Dota is a perfect example of people taking Warcraft 3, a game they loved, and turning it into something bigger, And that's exactly what Project M is. It's Brawl. People rejected what Brawl truly was, and they turned it into what they wanted. And it's like your game, if you have a game on your hands that people actually took all this time and all this effort and made the game they wanted out of it, just, I don't know. I don't understand how they won't just look at that and be like, wow, this is what the people want. Let's give it to them. But anyway,
the examples you mentioned are like Western companies, whereas like Nintendo's a really traditional Japanese company, so it's kind of...
Yeah, right.
They can still hire you.
Let's go ahead and move on to Nebraska travel. So recently, with the Midwest circuit going on, we've seen a lot more players here in Nebraska travel to the close states. I think a lot of the people here, actually, I know like Uli and some other people like David and everybody are going to EVO, so that's pretty huge. I don't think anyone's going to Big House, though, so that's disappointing. I myself want to try to go to the next Apex or something since I'm missing EVO this year. But anyway, we kind of want to just talk about what's getting Nebraska to travel more. Obviously, the circuit has something to do with it, but do you also think it's just kind of like this new wave of players? Like recently in 2014, we kind of saw like a resurgence. Like even I got back into it. I wasn't playing before last year, so I don't know. What are your guys' opinions on just traveling? Let's go ahead and start with Cam 2, actually, because Cam 2, if I remember right, Spring Showdown was your first out-of-state tournament, correct?
Spring Showdown was my first out-of-state tournament, yeah.
Well, did you have a good time? Well, I guess we'll get more into Spring Showdown specifically more. So maybe you just want to, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the drive isn't that bad. I guess from Skylar it was probably, what, like 3 hours? But, I mean, kind of what is your impression? Do you intend to go to more tournaments?
Well, the drive down to Des Moines, it was an hour down to Omaha. I stayed the night at Cyrus's house and then went down to Des Moines in the morning. And I think that was like a 3-hour drive in total, around there. But yeah, honestly, I want to go to a lot more. Something I got a lot from Des Moines that I wish I'd capitalized on a bit more if we had a better venue. More on that later again. In Des Moines, I saw so many different playstyles. It really was like it was playing a different game that we were playing back at home. I saw a whole different. There's a ton of tech skill. Like right out of the gate, the first 2 players I was playing double shining out of shield, and that's something I wasn't seeing back at home. And getting the different playstyles in definitely is important. And I think it'd be a great learning experience for all of us if we do get out a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that's how you kind of get better, is just because you're seeing all the different variations in gameplay. You know, if you just play with the same people at home all the time, you get used to certain things. But when you go out of state, you actually get to see so many different things.
Exactly.
I know, dude, Tony, you've been to so many tournaments. I don't even know if I need to ask you. But how'd you feel going out of state again last weekend? I hope you're going to Kansas City next, what is it, May 2nd?
The KC
Yeah,
Classic?
I'm definitely going out there. I mean, I'd like to. One thing I'd just like to ask. I mean, Cam, what do you think was the reason you wanted to go out of state? If that was your first out of state tourney, what motivated you to go out of state for the first time? I mean, that's kind of the big question of what can we get people to go out of state? Is what made you think that one? Was it just the confidence of how good you were playing here that you decided, well, maybe I can earn some money out of state?
A little bit of both of what we talked about, honestly. First, I knew that I always feel weird comparing myself to Nebraska because, aside of a few exceptions, Nebraska feels kind of isolated in compared to the rest of the world. Like when Mewtwo King first showed up, I felt like that was my first real I don't know what you call it. Like I could see where I was at in the game compared to.
It felt like you were at an event, right?
Right.
Because there were people that are out of state. I mean, the thing about traveling is accessibility is a big key for some people, especially newer people. Like if you have a 2 or 3 day tournament, really that can kind of take people who have work, who have school, just kind of decide to have them go, well, I can't spend a whole weekend, especially with the travel time. I mean, I think 1 day events are really key in order to getting people to go out there and travel. Hosting tournaments well, giving a good reputation. I mean, and getting a lot of people. I think that's a big thing too. You get a lot of people out there. I mean, just like at Spring Show, we had 170 people. I mean, that's big. That means something. I mean, with all the things that did happen at a tournament, 170 people, it means something to be standing in a room with a lot of people playing the same game you're playing.
And I think kind of what Cam 2's talking about also is like, he talked about how Mewtwo King showed up, and it was like the first time he could see where his skill level kind of like relates to the upper crust of players. And like, when you play like the same people all the time, you kind of get used to each other. But when you travel, it's really humbling to play all these players, and you just get bodied. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. That was my first SMYM experience. I got it at a pool, and I was like, oh, I'm king of the world. That doesn't happen all the time.
All right. How about you, Cody? Any thoughts?
Basically, I just want to agree with what it was that people are saying. It is very humbling, no matter what game it is you're playing, because there is that look at for any fighting game that you might be playing. It's truly an absolutely fantastic experience, and I definitely encourage people to go out there and do it more.
Yeah, and okay, so I guess if that's final thought, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is new guys. New guys, shy guys. No, I don't know, just guys, right? I don't even know what I'm talking about. So, new guys. I mean, like I kind of mentioned earlier in another topic, we kind of have like a resurgence in the area, and I don't know if a lot of it was because of Smash 4 or if it was Project M. But
or the Smash documentary.
Or it could have been, Smash Doc, and maybe it was just Melee all along. Yeah. No, I don't know. But what do you guys think about like a lot of the new players? I was kind of sticking up for some of the newer players the other week when Rob put out that PR. When I was saying, when he was putting a top 10 together, I was saying I want to see a top 20. Because if you see a top 20, in my opinion, the top 10 is kind of like veteran players. I mean, if you look at that top 10 that Rob put together, those are all players that have been here for a long time. So I kind of want to see a top 20 because I want to see that would essentially be the top 10 of the new wave. You've got people like Cody, like Ghoul, like Joey, all these guys. So what are you guys' opinions on like how fast the new wave of players is picking up the game? It seems like they're doing it a lot quicker than we did.
I definitely think that's because we have so much to go off of already. As the veteran players like first started out, there wasn't the accessibility to like videos and other experienced people as quickly as it is for people nowadays. Like I was able to just go over to like Chateau 1 week and I played against Jerry, and when I played against JBM, I was like, wow, this guy's really good. It shows me where to go and how to improve from there versus how hard it would have been earlier when there isn't as much footage out there. It's hard to find where all this information is. Smashboards wasn't as well known. People haven't branched out to like Facebook and other types of social media at that point. And so with all of that new technology and accessibility and Twitch being a thing, it's definitely made it a lot easier for people to get involved.
I definitely think so too, especially back in the day when we didn't have a whole lot of people to play against. We really didn't go out of state. There really wasn't a lot of big events to go to, like in general. I mean, people were just making the game themselves. I mean, in Nebraska, we pretty much only had Mike and Devin for the longest time. And when JBM showed up, he picked up a lot very fast. I mean, because he knew where to go. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of direction for people really picking up on the game early. And, that actually might be where Smash 4 is. I mean, I don't want to be, jumping back too much on topics, but I mean, that's the greatest thing about it, is that with the newer players, they really have a great opportunity to look, see where people are at, think about, well, why don't they use this move? Why don't they do this? And they can try it. They can see. They can fight against the meta. The meta doesn't mean anything. It's just the way people are playing now. The meta's changed. It always will change. And the new guys will be able to change the meta probably better than the old guys.
I think that's an advantage that like the Midwest has too in general. Like, we get to kind of like watch the coasts and see what they're doing, but the coasts, they don't watch us. They don't care. so we get to go grow under their noses, and I think we're definitely kind of we're kind of sleepers. So I just think it's interesting. You get to see all these styles like develop, with the influence of top players, but not necessarily copying them.
I think you just referenced the Midwest as a booger.
But I mean, I think that's exactly it, is that you can copy somebody up to a point. You can understand what technical skill works, what moves go with what, but I mean, essentially at the end of the day, you're making it your own. You're making every character your own. Your own style is going to go into there. I mean, copying somebody only gets you up to 99% of that person. It doesn't get you to being better than anyone else. It just gets you to being better as yourself. And I mean, that's the greatest thing with the Smash community growing as it is. I mean, we're getting a lot more people now playing against each other on a much higher level. That's one thing that's really working out well with Midwest.
What would you recommend to somebody that was getting new or getting into the game now, or has only been playing for the past year competitively or whatever? Would you recommend just playing locally a lot, going to UG or wherever else people are playing, and learning with somebody like JBM and David, or would you recommend just, well, obviously you still want to play, but would you want to have them watch people on the coasts and try to pick up a lot of the tech that they're doing and then bring it to play locally? Because I feel like if you just play with people locally and you're just kind of trying to learn what JBM is doing and do that whole thing, I don't know how far that's really going to get you. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of just trying to copy JBM.
I think you need to do all of it.
The way
you
I
need to
see
do
it.
all of it and then more. I mean, that's just what's going to take. If you want to, I mean, the biggest thing is don't just get discouraged. If you're new to the game, do not get discouraged at this. I mean, I've been playing this for 13 years, and I haven't won a tournament yet, so I'm not discouraged. I mean,
the way
we just need to, I mean, with new people, my biggest thing is play the people you have here. When you get an opportunity, definitely go out of state and watch whatever videos you want. Watch Mewtwo King, watch West Coast, East Coast, watch Japan, watch Europe. It doesn't matter. Watch them all. You might find someone that is somewhat your style that you would like to imitate a little bit, just so you can get up to your technical level.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes. All right, go ahead, Blake.
No, yeah, sorry. The way I see it is like you have to be thinking. If you're not thinking about the game, then it doesn't matter what you're watching. And when you watch someone, you got to think like, okay, well, is this guy winning the matchups that I struggle with? Why is he winning them? What is he doing? If he's not winning the matchups that you struggle with, then maybe he's not showing you anything. You gotta figure out something on your own.
Right.
Like, it's not just watching; it's thinking about the game.
Right. It's funny that you say that, because that's actually what I was going to bring up, was just saying that it seems to me like when people are trying to learn the game now, one of the first things they go to is learning how to wave dash, learning how to L cancel, learning how to do these things. Whereas people like myself, we played the game for 4 years before we even knew what wave dashing was. So we already had like all the mechanics of the game down, and then you're adding wave dashing on top of it. Whereas nowadays it's like, okay, if somebody just jumps into the game, they're going to be like, oh man, I want to learn how to like, do all this stuff and drop shields and all this stuff. It's just like, well, you kind of want to learn the fundamentals of the game first. Like, don't get too fast or too ahead of yourself. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like if you focus too much on doing all those advanced techniques, you're not actually going to be able to implement them because all you're focused on is that tech. If that makes sense.
I feel like Smash 4 is a great place to start off for new people because that does force you to learn the fundamentals and understand the neutral game. And then after you understand the general mechanics of Smash 4, you're actually able to translate it over to the other games. And I know that they are definitely a lot different in regards to like shields, but it gives you something to go off of. You understand the general idea of spacing. You understand when a general good time to attack would be, and you can build off that, and then you can progress towards that advanced tech instead of just diving right into the advanced tech and the L cancels and everything that Melee is involved with, because it is very overwhelming at first. But taking it in those small bits and pieces, I feel like, is a great idea.
I definitely feel like we need the opinion of someone like JBM who jumped into Melee after all the tech was already done, and someone probably even like Rob who played a little bit of Brawl and then jumped right into the tech. I mean, those are exactly the opposite opinions of. I mean, I really want to see which one of them go. What their opinion is. Like, would they feel like? Does Rob feel like he needed the tech? He needed the tech skill before he started playing Melee, or that he got a significant advantage from playing Brawl, or did JBM feel like he got better at Melee faster just by learning the tech skill and then implementing it into a game?
I feel like Rob would tell you that it's his Brawl knowledge that helped him out the most, because he always tells me, I mean, we're always joking around, he'll tell me, like, if he wave dashes once out of, like, a whole 2 hours of playing, he's like, oh, check it out, I wave dashed, because he doesn't really, like, he doesn't worry about it as much, because maybe it's a chic thing that he doesn't need to, get as fancy with his tech all the time, but, like, everybody knows Rob plays, like, a really, I don't want to say basic Marth, but it's rather simple. I mean, he doesn't need to be doing all the fancy stuff, because he's just watching what his opponent is doing, and he's going to capitalize on it. He's going to make the right punishes and all that. So, I mean, I think Rob is the kind of player that would tell you that tech isn't necessarily the most important thing, as long as you know how to play the game and you have the fundamentals of the game. Go ahead.
I would definitely agree with that. Like, as a personal example, with me trying to dive more into Melee, now when I played Melee over at Showdown, I ended up playing Frizz my second round, and yeah, he definitely beat me, but he could tell that I came from like Brawl and Smash 4, and he complimented me on my neutral game, saying that it was definitely there, and that I just need to work on my tech skill, which is definitely the case.
And I'm kind of like the tech skill kind of player. Like, when I played Mike at Roll Tier, like, you told me that you were like surprised at my double shining and whatnot. Like, I kind of went into the tech first, and now I'm just going through the fundamentals. Like basing like. And when I watched like someone like Mewtwo King, right, like he was playing doubles and Project M, and he was playing Fox, and he really doesn't go in that much. He just walks around and chooses his moments just perfectly. That's all.
Yep. And I mean, that's really what's important. Like, but tech is really important. Like you mentioned when we played at Roll Tier, it's like I was really surprised because I knew that you played a lot of Brawl and PM, and so when I see you coming in Melee and doing all this, that just really shows that somebody's been putting in the work. You're not just picking Fox and running around and just doing the simple stuff. It's like that the double shines and everything, especially like against a character like Falcon, that can win you the game. I mean, you get that shine spike, hey, that's a stock lead. So the tech does obviously help out. Not trying to say it doesn't at all, but learn the basics first, then get into the tech. IMO. Obviously, we all see it in different ways there, but let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to throw it back at you, Blank, for Spring Showdown. This is obviously the tournament that just happened last weekend. Anybody in the local area has probably seen some of the, I don't want to say complaints, but some of the feedback. I kind of want you to mention what happened with the whole event being canceled on Facebook. Were they worried that people were going to like have a lot of negative feedback, or what the deal was? I'm not part of the Iowa Smash group, so I didn't see all the conversation there. But if you can give a quick update on what the whole thing was with them canceling the event, but then just your own opinions of how the event went.
Right. So to be honest, Iowa Smash doesn't know a whole lot about this either. But basically, the TO, the main TO, who got us the venue, and you know, put up the registration page and kept track of the money was Cody Perko, and he's the one who is hosting most of our events. So it seemed like at the end of the tournament he was kind of stressed out, and after the long drive home, we come back and we find out that he's deactivated his Facebook, and that and when you deactivate your Facebook, all your events get canceled automatically. So we were all just kind of concerned, but from what we know, he's all right, and he might just be taking a little break. I don't want to make too many assumptions. It's just, I figure just give the man his space, and he'll come back and update us when he wants to, right? There's not that much speculation that needs to happen on that front. But as far as like Spring Showdown and how it was ran, I mean, there were just so many things that I could make Johns about, like the megaphone's not coming in on time, and like the venue moving us downstairs, and us not having internet in the downstairs room, even though we had paid for the upstairs room, which did have internet. We ended up having to pay $200 to run a wire downstairs just to get internet, by the way. So that was a thing.
Well, hold on. So
That's
how
the
do they
East
do
Berlin.
that?
John.
How do they do that? I mean, like, so if you had a room booked, how do they just all of a sudden say, "Oh, hey, sorry, we're gonna put you down there"? I mean, was it a much bigger room that was booked?
So apparently there was a lot of miscommunication. Greg went there about a week before the tournament, and we had found out that they had only booked us for 2 hours. So we said we want the room from 10 to 12. 12 being midnight, right? So apparently they thought 10 to 12 noon. They're like, oh, you guys only need 2 hours, and you guys are probably just doing like some kind of presentation or something, like they didn't think about a video game tournament. So when Greg told them it's a video game tournament and we need internet, they moved us downstairs. And our initial impression was, oh, they're like throwing us in the slammer, like they don't want us filthy gamers up in the ballroom, right? Like, but I mean, I want to say it's just a lot of miscommunication and overall just kind of incompetence almost on like the staff's part, like not the TO staff, but like the Holiday Inn. They had not done their research, or they had not understood us correctly, and they didn't really seem to make an effort to accommodate us after the fact, So that's basically what happened. And I mean, I myself, I didn't come into this tournament expecting to TO, but when I saw that there were 175 entrants, which was also something I didn't expect, we really didn't plan to have an event of this magnitude, and we really didn't think that many people would show up. But when I saw that 175 people were registered, I knew I had to help TO, or else it would be even more of a train wreck. Like, it would have been absolutely disastrous. But I'm glad I did, and I hope everyone, is okay with the fact that at least all the events got done mostly on time. I'm super grateful that I was a part of it and that a lot of people came together to make it happen. And so many people came out. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, Trail came out, Minnesota Chexer came out, and Triple R, Jay Turley, like, lots of just people I did not expect to make it out and made it out. And it was really cool to see everybody, though I didn't get to mingle much. I know a lot of people are upset that PM doubles didn't happen, but there was just no time.
Right, but like you said, when we were talking earlier, you were saying that PM Dubs wasn't actually intended in the first place. That's why there was no pre-registration for it. So if you kind of take that out and say, well, if that event wasn't planned, and then so everything that was planned did get finished.
Right.
And,
you also have to take into account that a lot of people dropped out of PM.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
there were a lot of people that left.
There was in my opinion, I think you're kind of downplaying it, the staff Johns or the Holiday Inn Johns, because I mean, honestly, it sounds like I heard the story a couple times from a couple different people, got the same story, and it just seems like they didn't take any responsibility or anything about what was going to be done in their own building. I mean, we were 170 people in a room that honestly we were 60 people over max capacity.
Right.
at minimum of 60 at any
And
given point.
there was a room right next to us that is supposed to actually accompany that room. So, yeah, it was just way overflowing, and we were like sitting out in the hallways. People had like the door open to outside just so they could let air in. It was
Definitely, I left
crazy.
that place a couple times just because there was nowhere for me to be. I mean, I tried to just make sure that if I wasn't up next to play a game, that I was probably out of the room just to make sure other people could walk by.
Yeah, and like, shout outs to Greg and Cody, by the way, for doing a great job TOing. Like, I had promised that megaphones would be available, but they didn't come in on time, so
Yeah, and
we were just kind of yelling. But I
don't think
it went all
anyone
right.
should say
Besides
that
that,
Greg didn't like put in a lot of work. I mean, I saw that dude running around the whole time, you know, trying to
Right.
call out matches and everything. It's just, I think the whole tournament was bogged down from the venue thing, you know, and the whole
Yeah.
internet. The internet fiasco sucked too because we had so much hype for all the TVR tech that was going to be displayed and everything. And so when the internet was, you know, weak, it was just like, oh man. But as far as the actual tournament went, like I said, it got done. And hey, me and Tony, we beat Dexter, man. You guys did Shinobi, man. That's all I'm going to remember about this tournament, man. I'm not even going to let all this TO stuff get me down. I'm just going to say me and Tony wrecked the doubles losers bracket.
Hey man, if we can, next time we gotta take first. So I'll do the Magic Man strip.
Hey,
Magic Mike.
Cody, how did Smash 4 go, man? We didn't. To be honest, I didn't really pay attention a whole lot to the Smash 4 side because I was either playing games on the Melee side or I was grinding up on dudes when I was trying to get out of the place. Because you had to like be running.
I definitely understand that. It actually went really well. We had there was a guy who's super new to the community. I mean, he's been playing like 3 months or something. He plays top 8, Nebraska guy, using a Wii remote. Plays
that
top.
Still drives me nuts that he plays with that.
Yeah, he went out of state with Wii remote and he plays top 8. And then other guys are placing like 17th. They're still getting top 32. I had placed 7th in singles, and then Dr. Pizza and I, who's a Lincoln guy, we got 4th in doubles. So Nebraska's definitely showing up over on the other side as well.
I mean, I was kind of seeing a little bit beforehand. Seems like somebody might have been who had the Wii remote was just turning off the system quite a few times.
And, like the system kept shutting down. It was the one on the stream setup.
It was.
And yeah, it was somebody's controller.
They replaced the
like,
Wii U.
Oh no.
Yeah, there were a few times where we were just like, this Wii U's got a controller messed up, like interfering, right? And then as soon as we'd yell that, Spanky J would be like, I got it, you know, like he'd pull out his batteries. So we kind of knew who was.
We knew exactly who it was. We just.
Right, yeah. We knew exactly who it was, so.
His controller afterwards was to continue using it, not actually use a GameCube controller.
But
Cam 2, how are you doing for, or how did you do at Spring Showdown? What events did you enter, by the way? I know you did PM singles. Did you do PM doubles, obviously not, but Melee doubles or singles?
I didn't get into doubles, but I did enter Melee singles, and that I did actually place better than I did in PM, which is the first and probably the only time I'm going to say that for quite some time. Melee singles I didn't really have any problems with. I count all my matches on time. The megaphones didn't really impact me anyway, but I still count all my matches on time. Had some great matches. Last game I threw away 3 stocks. I don't know. I felt like I was playing on tilt by the time PM came out, but that may just be like a huge John. So.
Yeah.
Gaming.
So I heard that there were a lot of people, or not like a lot of people, but I heard that there were some people that came in like business suits and stuff, probably just regulars at the hotel, and they walked around into the area and looked into the area where the tournament was in, and said something along the lines of like, "Look at these nerds," and I even heard some people were taking pictures of it. I mean, did anyone see that happen?
Who does that?
I personally did not see that happen, but I think it's hilarious if they thought it was worthy enough to take pictures for. I mean, we already have taken pictures. I mean, what's so special about it? If they go online, they're going to see tons and oh my gosh, there's going to be so many different types of pictures, streams, events. I just don't think their understanding of the world that online or like just on like the online community or just a competitive video game community at all. They're just unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt nothing but positive vibes at the tourney, so I can't say I saw any discrimination, but
Well, the best one I saw was somebody that, in response to that was like, did they see JBM sitting there? It's like, if you didn't go up to JBM and be like, oh, this freaking nerd, you know, he probably beat your ass. You know?
yeah,
So,
very nerd.
so I don't know. And a lot of those Street Fighter guys, too. I mean, a lot of those dudes work out. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it myself, but I was told about it, and I was like, nah, whatever. But that does
I was
suck,
told
I guess.
about it too a couple times, and yeah, there's a lot of people there that I wouldn't want to be calling just nerds in a disdainful way. Just like Leon, me, Rosha, JBM, people that I wouldn't want to just be talking down to for no reason.
Yeah. I agree, man. So, I mean, how are you guys feeling for your next tournament? You know, obviously this was kind of a bummer, a letdown, but are you going to kind of like redeem yourself? You know, have another one here in a couple months?
Funny you mentioned that. We had a tournament like a while back ago that was called like Redemption, and anyways, I definitely do have ideas for improving on the next tournament, but it's gonna be a while before we host something of this magnitude again for sure. We have some venues in mind, but definitely the main thing I want to do is have less events, but up the quality of the events, because you know we didn't get to run pools, and I think that really would have helped with organization as well as making sure people played enough of their games. You know, I really liked what David and Steph tried to do for Roll Tier, which was they tried to have pools for Melee and PM, and they separated people who entered both, so that they wouldn't have to play their pools at the same time. That's pretty much what you have to do if you don't want to like end up DQing a bunch of people for no reason. So, yeah, I mean, it's a long way off, but we're not deterred from running tournaments. So, hopefully those will go better.
Yeah, and I want to get your thought on this. And forgive me if you said this while you were doing that. I was trying to type it to myself so I remembered. But I specifically remember when we were sitting there, and we got there super early for the stream team, but when Smash 4 started so early and then like Melee started 3 or 4 hours after Smash 4 did, is there a specific reason for that? Because the setups are completely different, right? So I just feel like Melee could have got started earlier. Shouldn't you kind of run those at the same time, or at least maybe just if you start Smash 4, then just do Melee an hour after? I just feel like there shouldn't be such a gap.
Right, and I agree. Like, it was kind of just like a scheduling thing that Cody had thought up, and we hadn't really thought much of it at the time. And when you make a schedule, you kind of like start to raise false expectations for people, because people are like, well, I don't have to show up for a while because my game doesn't start till like 3 p.m., right? And then that's like not the case. And then they just get DQ'd. So even though I wanted to start Melee earlier, I knew that there would be some people that were like that. And, you know, like Trail showed up kind of late, and he ended up winning the whole tournament. So I definitely didn't want to like DQ anybody. And I still think we probably could have started it earlier because, like you said, they were on separate sides, and we would have just not DQ'd anyone. You know, we would have just started earlier, get some matches out of the way. But it's done. It's already passed. You know, it's definitely something we'll consider next time.
I mean, I feel that the biggest reason, is just venue Johns again. I mean, we couldn't use every TV we had.
Yeah, they were like, we definitely showed up with the setups. There were so many setups, but we couldn't use them because it was just too crowded. There weren't enough chairs, and people were playing their matches on the floor, and it was a mess.
All right. Well, with that said, we're going to take a viewer question. So I don't know if Project M 3.6, that is what the viewers want to talk about. Let me go ahead. I want to throw it to Cody because Cody is pumped. I know he's very excited about Olimar.
Rightfully so.
you go ahead and get started.
Well, as a lot of people may be familiar, but I play Olimar in PM, and gosh, he's just so he's pretty janky. When I say broken, I don't mean it in the sense that he's too good. I mean it in the sense that he doesn't work properly a lot of the time. His Pikmin will fly about everywhere; they don't follow you, and his tether just won't to the connect to the ledge. So you're going to miss a lot of potential recoveries, and it's really unfortunate. But in the 3.6 trailer, I haven't even seen the PM development team talk about this too much, but they showed just a small, tiny clip of Olimar's new recovery. It's just this little jetpack that goes at an angle, very similar. It looks like something that would be like Mario's up B, and just that in the world just makes me so excited to get back into PM and taking it very seriously. I've got that Olimar hype, man.
Yeah, so actually something about Olimar that was literally broken in 3.5 is that on the Project M page in Olimar's description it says when he does his up B that the less Pikmin he has, the higher he will go because he's lighter. Well, that's not the case. It doesn't happen. It's broken. So I feel like 3.6 they're probably going to remedy that. Like, it's literally going to be the less Pikmin he has, the higher he'll go. And this new up B is probably going to be their solution to that, hopefully.
If I can add something onto this, ICs have been broken ever since 3.5 came out. For those who are not aware, ICs have ICs have a glitch where they randomly get desynced in neutral. And I can't. Don't quote me on this, but apparently it has been fixed shortly after 3.5 came out. But we've been waiting for a bug fix patch ever since 3.5 came out, and we're just waiting for 3.6 right now.
Yeah, Ice Climbers, they can also do handoff infinites right now near the... I think normally they can only do them near the ledge, but I think they can do them anywhere on the stage right now because of a bug like that. So
yeah,
there's definitely some bugs that they need to fix in 3.6, besides all the cool new stuff that they're adding.
Yeah, I definitely need to check that out, and I'm looking forward to any updates PM has been doing because honestly, they've been doing really good updates so far. I mean, making a lot of good changes, a lot of good new mechanics. That's one big thing I love about it is they keep making new mechanics for characters, old stale ones, double ones, clones, everything.
And I think 3.6 isn't going to be as drastic a change as 3.5 was. It's mostly going to be like refinement. 3.5, a lot of people want to say like they kind of took access to it. They took access to 3.02, and like I'm still kind of unsure how I feel about most of it. In general, I do think a lot of stuff in 3.02 needed to be nerfed, but I can't say whether 3.5 like really fixed everything. It definitely took the game towards the direction that they were talking about, but I feel like they were kind of selective in that process. You know, like some characters got the axes and some characters didn't. And
I think it's sorry, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of debate that I've been hearing is that a lot of characters have been nerfed and trying to balance everybody out, except for the melee top tiers. Like you could argue that Fox has been nerfed to his palette to some extent, with his up B going a little bit less far and his up smash being neutered a little bit. But for the most part, the melee top tiers are mostly the same, and there's a lot of it. There's a little bit of debate on, you know, if Fox is still the best character in the game, and what should we do to get around that? Because if you nerf Fox, then you're going to be shafting everyone who came from melee, and you know that there's going to be those people who never want to play Fox in PM just because this one move is just a tiny bit different than it was in melee. They can't adapt.
Right. Well, I don't think Fox. Personally, I don't think Fox is the best character in the game. Like, I think he's gotten enough nerfs. I think we need more time for people to adjust to these nerfs because, like, they're not taking advantage of all these nerfs that Fox is receiving. He's got Pal Up Smash. He's got the Shine invulnerability taken away. And I think those are, like, actually really really important.
Yeah. And all I'll say about 3.6 is I hope Toon Link gets godly because I'm hoping to bring him back. So that's something I can look forward to. And if they nerf him, then whatever. I'll probably play him anyway. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I love this group, dude. I think this would be a great group to have back on. I don't know if you guys would be interested in getting back on. I think we covered a lot of bases here, man. I think there's a lot of good opinions on all the different games. And so I think this went really well. So again, thanks guys for coming in. Thanks to the chat for tuning in. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Pardon the Smash.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we'll see you later.
It's been great being here, guys.